Hello YouTube. Today I will speak about the Mongol Empire and some of its secrets. This will not be the only time I will speak about this great ancient empire, but I want to start today with a very interesting report which circulated in Russia. But before that I want to read from a document, a Mongolian document, and here is what it says. These are 4 hounds of my Temudjin, reared on human flesh. He tied them to an iron chain. These hounds have copper foreheads, carved teeth, thorn-like tongues, and iron hearts. Instead of a horse lash, they use crooked sabers. They drink dew and ride the wind. In battles they devour human flesh. Now they have been unchained from their chain. They salivate, they're merry. The 4 hounds are Jebe, Khubilai, Jelme, and Subudai. These words are what Jamuha, the blood brother, Anda, of Genghis Khan, said of the bloody universal ruler, Temudjin, and his fellow fighters Jamuha, a relative and clan chief, helped Temudjin free his family when it was kidnapped. Years later, the hounds captured Jamuha, who had rebelled against Genghis Khan, the universal ruler, and they killed him. When they captured Jamuha, Genghis Khan did Jamuha the honor of killing him by rolling him up in a carpet and crushing him with boulders, so that the blood would remain in the body. In the years that followed, the hounds also killed millions of people throughout the world and crushed thriving civilizations into dust during their conquests of new territories. The Mongols of the 13th century laid waste to nations, cities, towns, and villages. Their cruelty was but a part of the comprehensive strategy of conquest. The Mongols instilled fear and sought to convince the world that resistance was futile. They made sure that the tales of their savagery and merciless slaughter preceded them. The Mongols transported their tents in 4-wheeled carts, and they also used 2-wheeled carts covered with black felt, which they waterproofed with tallow. Such carts were usually drawn by camels, horses, and oxen, and they provided enhanced and rapid mobility. The carts carried the Mongol families' belongings, supplies, and provisions. Mongol records tell that Subudai Bagatur, one of the hounds, had a habit of resting in an unusual vehicle during his military campaigns. This vehicle was made of a special metal, which no arrow could penetrate. In the late 1990s, according to Russian author Viktor Nikitin, a 2-wheeled covered metal vehicle was unearthed during archaeological excavations in the vicinity of Busan, a city which is now South Korea. A chemical analysis of the metal indicated that it was alloyed steel, with a chemical analysis of the metal indicated that it was alloyed steel with an admixture of molybdenum and tungsten. I wanted to repeat it. Molybdenum and tungsten. A bullet cannot penetrate the sheathing made from this metal. Years ago, I made inquiries about this vehicle. I wrote letters to archaeologists in South Korea and others in the United States who study Korean archaeology. I received no replies and have not been able to ascertain the veracity of the find. If the Russian author is correct, then I have to ask, how would 13th century nomadic tribes from Asiatic steppes be able to create such a molybdenum tungsten vehicle when they were not advanced metallurgists? There is another mystery, this time from Eastern Europe. In the 1980s, a Soviet archaeological expedition uncovered a very strange stone while digging a 19th century debris layer at Chernigov in northern Ukraine. According to Margarita Novgoroda, PhD, director of the First Mineralogical Museum in Moscow, no one has solved the mystery of the so-called Chernigov artifact. I wrote to her, I corresponded. And as described in Komsomolskaya Pravda, a newspaper from March 26, 2005, its size is that of an adult human's fist. This stone, it's incredibly hard, and the only way to cut it is by using a diamond saw. The stone turned out to be tungsten carbide, which cannot exist in nature and can only be produced by technological means. The experts concluded that the alloy was produced in the mid-19th century, but by whom and how? According to Dr. Novgorodova, similar alloys have been considered for use in stealth aircraft technology. I want to talk more about the Mongols. Please bear with me, because in the future, like I said, I will come back to this empire. The 13th century Mongolia was one of the most powerful states in the world. A capable Mongol warrior and a chieftain called Temudjin Asukei gathered various scattered nomadic tribes under his leadership. He founded the Mongol Empire in 1206 and assumed the title of Genghis Khan. The difficult and bloody process of establishing the nomadic state is described in the famous Mongolian document Mongolin Nuuts Tovcho, The Secret History of the Mongols. Genghis Khan conquered the northeastern part of China in 1211 and to 1215 and used the military prowess of his united tribes to create an empire that eventually spanned from China to Turkey and Iraq, from Egypt to Russia, all the way over to Korea and down to Vietnam. This was the largest empire known to man. Before his death in 1227, Genghis Khan divided the Mongol Empire into 4 khanates, led by his sons and grandsons, but this also evolved from time through the centuries. Of all the military commanders who arrived from Mongolia, Genghis Khan's general Subudai Bagatur was the greatest and fiercest. He led the western onslaught of the Mongol army against Russia, Europe, and the countries in the Caucasus. Subudai outlived Genghis Khan and continued to serve his people under Batu Khan, a grandson of Genghis Khan, and Ugedei. He was the third son and successor to universal ruler. It was Subudai and another trusted general, Chepenoyon, who each with a battalion-sized military unit terrorized the Chinese countryside, cleverly using the rich technology of the Chinese against them. And you know how inventive and intelligent Chinese people were through the centuries. Then the Mongol leader marched out against Central Asia in 1218, launching an offensive against Muhammad II, Shah of Khwarezm. The detachment of the Mongol army, led by Generals Jebe and Subudai, the same detachment that made war on Muhammad and his son Jalal ad-Din min Burnu, they attacked the kingdom of Georgia several times in early 2020s. Memory of all this conquest still lives in the part of the world where I am from. And we grew up reading books and listening to stories about the Mongol conquests. So to us, this is not an ancient history. And I'll add something else later. In 1221, a scouting of reconnaissance detachments of 15,000 Mongols separated from the Central Asian expedition and traveled around the Caspian Sea, exploring the lands on its western shore. It was Subudai with Jebe who led the Mongol horsemen when they met up with a superior Russian force and its Kipchak Kuman or Polovtsi allies, who tried to stop the Mongol invaders. but the Mongol light cavalry outmaneuvered the Russian forces and defeated them in 1223 in the Battle of the Kalka River. Russia was conquered later in 1237, and Batu Khan sent Subudai to quell a revolt led by Jiku and Bayan about 1239. And next, Subudai forces descended on the Ukrainian steppe, where I'm from, conquering the Polovtsi in 1239 and Kiev in 1240. When I was a boy in Kiev, or Kiev in Ukrainian, I used to explore many hills in my city, and we kids would always find strange things, artifacts in the hills, sometimes going back thousands of years. We found old coins and weapons from Middle Ages and before, including Mongolian ones. Later, Subudai set his sights on Europe. Hungary attracted the Mongols because of its wide open steppes, and Subudai divided the Mongol army and began the invasion. That's interesting to me, and I'll explain. In 1241, the Mongol invaders charged into Central Europe and defeated the combined armies of Germany, Poland, and Bohemia in the Battle of Liegnitz in Silesia. Other parts of Subudai's force descended into Hungary from the Carpathian Mountains from different directions. The Hungarian king fled and the Mongols conquered the country, establishing garrisons and their control. Now, my beautiful wife is from Western Ukraine, and her ancestors are from Romania, and she has beautiful Asian eyes, and it might be that it comes from the ancient Mongol part too, in part. She has other blood in her. Now, only the news of the death in Mongolia of Batu Khan's uncle, the great Khan Ugedei, in 1241, only that saved Western Europe from Subudai and his merciless, disciplined, fearless Mongol armies. In 1242, the Mongols returned to Mongolia. Subudai was put in charge of the campaign against the Song Chinese, but then he died in 1248. So we need to look at Korea. Korea is an ancient country with a history that goes back more than 5,000 years, and it experienced many bloody periods. Mongol invaders responsible for one of them, for sure. In 1231, the Mongols invaded the kingdom of Goryeo, Korea, forcing the royal family to flee to Gangwa Island near Seoul. For 25 years of struggle, the royal family finally surrendered. The following 150 years saw it continued Goryeo dynasty rule, but under the control of the Mongols. In 1271, Khubilai Khan established the Yun dynasty as a division of the Mongol Empire and assumed the role of Emperor of China. By 1279, he had conquered all of China and turned his sights to continuing his invasions of other empires of Southeast Asia. He also invaded Korea and tried to conquer Japan from there, but he failed. Unlike Genghis Khan, his army consisted mostly of infantry with little cavalry, but Khubilai Khan was the first Mongolian ruler to have a navy. Perhaps he also had in his possession Subudai's two-wheeled covered metal vehicle made of molybdenum and tungsten. Let's talk about metallurgy for a while. Based on my research, I've come to the conclusion that the Mongols brought the mysterious metal vehicle from China. Subudai shed enough blood and spent sufficient time in China to loot the country and its treasures. At one time in its history, China was the world's most technologically advanced society. Indeed, for much of antiquity into the Middle Ages, China was far more advanced than Europe. Many significant innovations were developed in ancient China, but could the Chinese mine tungsten and produce tungsten steel? Do you understand that this is what we use in spacecraft today and highly complicated weapon systems? And yet they knew about it so many centuries ago. In metallurgy, China has long held a leading position with deposits of all the minerals known in the world. There are verified reserves of 151 different minerals. China is among the countries that lead the world in the use of such non-ferrous metals as tungsten, tin, antimony, zinc, mercury, and lead. For example, on September 18 in the year of 2000, the People's Daily newspaper announced that the Chinese geologists have discovered deposits of nickel, copper, cobalt, platinum, tungsten, and gold in what used to be part of ancient Silk Road, the Heshi corridor in northwestern China. The actual reserves in the corridor could be twice as much as the verified discovered. I've been interested in ancient metallurgy for a while, and I learned of such places of Luoyang, one of the cradles of the Chinese civilization, and one of the four great ancient capitals of China. Luoyang lies in the province, northwestern part of the Henan province. The deposits there abound in molybdenum, aluminum, and tungsten. Jiangxi province in southeastern China also has rich mineral resources such as tungsten, selenium, tellurium, rubidium, and lithium. The ancient Chinese developed methods for the manufacture of steel, which has only recently been matched in the West. They invented a method for converting cast iron into steel by blowing air on the molten metal, which reduced the carbon content. In 1956, archaeologists excavating the tomb of a Chinese military commander who died in 297 AD unearthed 20 metal belt ornaments. These were lab tested and found to be made of aluminum with an admixture of up to 10% copper and 5% manganese. We have yet to find evidence of the ancient production of tungsten master alloys, or we need to find out who designed these advanced technologies in antiquity and why. Until we do, this mystery of Subudai's impenetrable vehicle remains unsolved, and I hope the archaeologists will give answers one day. There are a few more secrets of the ancient Mongol Empire I want to get to, and I will. I thank you for your attention, and if you can support my research, please see the links to this video. Thank you.